I say that I am innocent of those charges.
Morning update for a Wednesday. You recognize by now the voice of Jerry Sandusky, former Penn State assistant football coach, accused child abuser. There's a new book out, the most comprehensive yet, on the Penn State sex abuse scandal. Its authors join us this morning. Bill Mushi, Pulitzer Prize-nominated investigative journalist, and Robert Dvorak, a sports journalist with the AP forever. The book is Game Over. And, Bill, let's start with you. The big question is apparently so many people had some idea of this. Why, how was it kept quiet for so long?
In the culture of silence, Penn State had built itself in a cocoon where they wanted to keep everything inside. And when this stuff started happening, people blew off very specific reports that occurred that should have caused any reasonable person to bring authorities in and basically stop this. But in fact, because of the culture of insularity, this thing went on for at least 12 years that we know of, and involved many, many kids and also a bunch of folks who had clear knowledge of it who didn't do what many believe are the right things.
What I think what you take away from Game Over is how isolated Penn State is. In the middle of a valley, in the middle of the state, in the middle of nowhere. And isolation is one of its charms, but it's also one of the contributors to what happened here. And it wasn't just geographic isolation. There's a cultural isolation, is that we exist in our own little world, and we're going to control our message and call our own shots.
But, Bill, Pennsylvania, as so many states, has a mandatory reporting law. These people are educators, bottom line. And each individual who had a sense that something might be going on knew of that obligation. Why didn't they do what they should have done? Someone.
The best metaphor for that comes from a guy named Gary Schultz, who's also charged with failure to report, as you suggest, and also perjury. And when he was testifying before the grand jury in this case, he had clear knowledge of, for instance, the 2002 report from the assistant coach, Mike McQuarrie, that he said he saw a kid in the shower. And Gary Schultz's response, and he's the top law enforcement officer in Penn State, his response was he thought that a grown man and a naked with a naked child in a shower embracing and various other things was horseplay and goofing around, and didn't see fit to do anything about it. In fact, between the time that Joe McQuarrie told Paterno waited for the weekend because he didn't want to bother these guys in the weekend, told Schultz and another guy about it, and then they didn't do anything for 9 days. Not even talk to McQuarrie.
Robert, you have indicated that the Sandusky, none of us really know him, but if there were a perfect profile for a pedophile, and again, we're talking about allegations here, this would be it. Tell us more.
Yes, if you were to draw it up on a blackboard and you wanted to define the ultimate pedophile, why don't you start with a sports legend, the founder of a charity with a biblical name, recognized as one of George Bush's 1,000 points of light, joined at the hip to a prestigious university. He's called the male Mother Teresa of central Pennsylvania, and yet you see from the allegations something so completely against the grain of what his public image was. In his own book, which is called Touched, Sandusky calls himself the great pretender, that he was always enjoyed pretending. So when you have that to work with, what was he pretending to be? What was he really? You know, it's just it's like peeling away the layers of an onion, and you get down to nothing.
Finally, Bill, you guys spent a lot of time on campus at State College, 85-plus interviews. How would you describe the attitude on campus today? Did you get any of this, what are you guys doing here? What are you nosing around for? What are you digging this stuff up for?
Absolutely. We contacted hundreds of people, sent hundreds of letters, got doors slammed in our faces. It was the most antagonistic attitude I've faced in 44 years as an investigative reporter. And it just goes to that whole idea that it was like, what are you doing here? And the best metaphor of it was when the night that Joe Paterno was fired and students started rioting, they didn't take action against the Board of Trustees or any institutional things. They went and dumped a television truck and started it on fire.
A couple of highly respected investigative reporters, Bill Mushi, Robert Dvorak. The book is Game Over, Jerry Sandusky, Penn State, and the Culture of Silence. Guys, thanks.